Denise Ramon, who just also did an energy healing session on me like a week ago, and I feel so great, very powerful. I want to say thank you very much for that.
Well,
God knows I need all the help I can get.
How are you? Erik says hi, Mama, and he's wearing a white T-shirt like me. I know.
I love
Yes.
Erik.
He says, "I love you, Mama." He
Yeah.
says, "I love you," and he's the way he said it, "I love you, Mom," and he did it with such conviction. Oh,
No, no half-ass pretend. I kind of love
no,
you. Yeah, it depends on the
no,
day. All right, we
no.
are going to talk about stem cells. Everybody's interested in stem cells. And there are the fetal, the ones that come from, the cord, or some people take them out of, aborted fetuses, I suppose, in some countries. I don't know where. Or they also have somatic cell from human cell, from adult, cells also. So, Erik, what do you want to say about that? Is there a future in stem cell technology?
Erik says, he said, yes, there is. And he says, in quite a few other countries, it's real big. And a lot of US citizens fly over to other countries to get this done because it's just not performed here. He said some cases it is, but for what some people are wanting it for, to help them, it's like there's not like an immediate medical need for it, so a necessity is what he says. So these people fly to other countries, and he's saying like Mexico and stuff like that, for people who need like rapid healing. He said like for neck injuries or back injuries and stuff like this. This helps the healing process, and it helps to rejuvenate the cells within their own body so that they can be like almost back to the way perfect, he says perfect as in the way they were before the accident, or help them while they're during their recovery of the process of whatever it is. Erik is saying some people believe this is also helpful with people who are paralyzed, but there looks like a hope for them to walk again, and so these people, he's telling me, they go get stem cell therapy done and stuff like that.
And what does it entail? I mean, for say somebody has a an injured spinal cord, where do they just go with a catheter and put stem cells in where the lesion is, or just in the spinal fluid around the cord? Or what should they
Yeah,
do? I just say, what should they do?
Erik is saying, yes, he's saying what my mom means with catheter. He doesn't mean a catheter for urinating. He's showing me a catheter with a needle and stuff. And he says, yes, that's how they do it. They put it there because this is where it just really needs, he says, that's where the stem cell needs to go. So they put it in that area. But Erik is showing me they also insert it in other areas of the body if they see deterioration of other areas of their body deteriorating because of the injury. So, like he's saying, like if their neck has an injury and he's showing me like in their shoulder area deterioration because of how the neck is, or the spine, like around he showed me like down in the hip area, I guess is where he's showing me. They'll start putting stuff there. He says putting the stem cell there. He's showing me that's where they'll start injecting it.
So what do they usually use? Do they use from the fetal umbilical cord, blood from that, or do they use an adult
Most
their own cells that they change into stem cell? Or
he says most it's being done from adult.
Okay.
Some are getting it from aborted fetuses and stuff like this. However, he says people don't really look upon that as a good thing, because he says that brings on fear. And I guess there's talk about this. where they're going to be making people get abortions, like getting them pregnant and
Oh.
aborting them and stuff. And then
And
some,
selling the stem cells.
that's what he just said. And then some
Oh God.
like are doing it to get money, selling it and stuff like this. This is so legitimate doctors
Yeah.
across the borders are not using that type.
Okay.
But there
So,
is some that, yes, he
yeah.
said, yes.
So
Wow.
what is the best stem cell? What's the most effective one? What type? Embryo, adult?
Well, he says, he said both. He says the embryo, of course, is good. He says because it's young, it's healthy, and it's just in the fetal state. He says, that
Yeah.
new state. But for consciousness, and he's saying as a consciousness, a collective consciousness, and for humanity, he says the adult one is better. And he says you can go in with the family and stuff like that, if you want it. um, he says that is your better choice on that, given the nature of it being from the embryo. um, he does show me, though, there's somewhere where they do like have a bunch of eggs and they're growing them for that purpose. And he said in some of those places, these are women who have donated their eggs
Oh yeah. Okay.
and do that. And
Hmm.
I feel like this is
What? Grow
more.
grow babies only to kill them, or grow babies and they remove some of their cells from their cords or their body?
Yes, they remove some of the cells. It's like they grow in a Eric is saying a petri dish is what he's showing me.
Okay, like a
But
culture.
but he says, but this is where the controversy comes in,
Mm.
because you have some people saying at the minute there's a conception, so to speak, there's a baby, there's a soul or whatever. And
Yeah.
he says, and then there's a lot of others that say that that's not true.
Mm.
And he says it has to be done with dignity and respect, with that you're not, it's just not a mass produced operation.
Has to be pure motives. Well, okay. What is the
Yeah.
spirit perspective of it? Not ours, because we're fear driven and stuff. So most of the time. So what does spirit say should be done and how?
Well, Eric, and he just told me this yesterday with a client of mine, and Eric is saying, because he's saying the same thing still holds. So for the person that is choosing to have an abortion for whatever their reasons are, um, and given that it's not, past like the 3-month stage or whatever, and Eric says you're going to hear controversy, Denise, like it's in the first trimester and that. He says there's like he's showing me, it's like we're waiting at the subway to catch the subway, waiting in line at the subway. Well, we're not going to wait there for 3 hours knowing that a subway isn't going to come till the next day. So he says this is the same concept. We're not going to jump into and say we pick Susie or Denise to to come into her egg and to become life and become pregnant within her, because we know she's not going to keep us,
Yeah.
because she's not going to keep the pregnancy. And
Oh,
Eric says they know that before we know that, because
yeah.
they feel our vibration and everything. And Eric says before we say this is that we're going to have an abortion, there's a thought process. And he says we pick up on that energy, and we know you're not a candidate, Susie's not a candidate. Now sometimes we will come in and leave at 6 months or 4 months,
Hmm.
but it's because we just want the experience. And he goes,
Yeah.
but that's a different story. He said, that's something different. But for these people who are just donating the eggs, he said, we all know that that's all it's going to be. It's like a like a specimen. He said
Oh.
it's for and but Eric says, this is part of the journey of learning how to heal spinal cord injuries. Um, he keeps showing me like severe neck injuries.
Yeah.
Um, there's this is going on a way to find cures for this, and he says, we'll get there eventually. He says, but this is part of the process.
Until everybody finds out scalar energy can do the same thing for cheaper and no, it's
Less
not.
evasive.
It's like, all right. So diabetes, can you use stem cells to regenerate islet cells, beta cells? The pancreas, so to speak, with stem cells. I mean, I don't
Eric,
know if they're doing it or not, but is it
Eric,
possible, Eric? I'm asking for a perspective, not from doctors, but from spirit.
Eric says yes, it's possible. He said yes, but it also depends on the person who has the illness,
Yeah.
because if you're giving it to someone, he says you're more referring to with that has diabetic 1 instead of 2. Are you
Yes.
referring to
Yeah.
1? Okay,
Yes.
because that's what Eric is telling me, because my mom's saying 1. So that's a whole difference than 2, than being a diabetic 2. He says on the 1, he said yes, it can help with that. um, Eric is saying that and I have known nothing about any of this or anything, but Eric is saying it's like there's a missing protein or something. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. There's all sorts of mess up there. Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
this is
Yes.
what Eric says. There's
Right.
like a missing protein.
Okay.
And, and through this type of research, you can find that. Um,
Oh, stem cell research? Because I read that they do create stem cells from adult somatic cells in order to use them for research. Well, maybe they do it from fetal cord blood too, but I don't know. But to research like the effect of certain medications or the effect on immune or just genetic kind of discoveries, etc.
Eric says they are. They are. And when you say the fetal part, sometimes they use that, and it's not from someone that says I'm going to abort my baby, but because of somebody's donated it. Just like people donate their body. People donate this. And it's like,
Well,
and Eric
I
says
mean, they can donate the baby's cord, put them in.
yes.
So they have cord banks, that you can keep for yourself, for the baby. When the baby grows up and develops aplastic anemia, hey, give me that cord blood. Let's go ahead and replenish his bone marrow.
Eric says yes, that, and there's nothing wrong with that, with the
No,
donation
no.
part. He says, otherwise it just gets thrown away where they throw that. He said, of course, and he says,
Yeah.
some people, he says, some people hear horror stories about how unethical or whatever. He goes, but that's a small percentage, he says.
Mhm.
He's telling me a good percentage of people have high integrity with this. And there's people that have been really researching this stuff for a long time, and they're really excited about this. So yes, about helping with the diabetes one and the pancreas, like helping to, because
Yeah,
some people just don't have a good one.
I know.
And he says, so that yes, and it's like, why wouldn't you want people to do that instead of using all these pills
I know.
that don't do nothing?
Yeah, and just cause side effects. But of course, stem cells, although they are not as histogenic, I mean, they don't have as many antigens on the cell surface at that point, but you can still reject them if it's from somebody who's not you. So there's
Correct.
that, and then they have to take immunosuppressive medication usually. Do they?
Eric says, yeah, he's showing me they do give precautions. It's kind of like people who have transplant, they have to take medicine. So yes, they can. He's saying yes.
It is like a transplant, really. It's just a cellular.
He said it is a transplant.
Yeah.
It's just not a organ, but
Okay.
he like that part, like a kidney or a liver. But he said yes. So they do have precautions. He says it's less invasive. And there's not really the downtime that you have with stuff like
Yeah.
that. And he said so.
Yeah. Well, what
But
about? Oh,
it's
go ahead.
expensive. He says it's very expensive.
I know. I don't know why. Okay, so but if you could take your own cell and devolve it into a stem cell, is that something that can the technology is there, so you can
Eric
use
said
that?
yeah. He said yes because they're doing that now. He said yes.
But then there would not be the risk of rejection.
He said there's always a slight risk
Oh, okay, I believe that.
because you're taking something that was in here, taking it out, and then saving it for later, and then putting it back in. So there's always a risk.
And you're changing it, so that means
Yes,
antigenic structure of the cell membrane could change as well.
but there's but he tells me the risk is small. It's very small.
Compared to an embryo who does not have your HLA type, I guess, right?
He said yes. He said yes.
Okay, can you use it to can it be used to like if you have had a big heart attack and all scar tissue there and now you have heart failure because there's that one segment of the heart wall that just doesn't work. Can you seed that with stem cells to turn them into, I mean, what do you think about that? Into cardiac cells so you can regain heart function?
He says, yes, you can use it, but he says you're really working with something. He says it's kind of like a building that got half demolished and you're trying to put up a door
Yeah.
without building the building back up to the way it was, is how he's describing it. Because he says when a heart gets like that, there was so much destruction before that.
Yeah.
And so he said, sorry, Mom, but that wouldn't be a good candidate for that.
Okay. What about just ripping out the tissue that is bad and putting some sort of mylar, I don't know, some sort of grid that stem cells can grow on cardiac and turn into cardiac myocytes, muscle fibers. No?
Erik says that is a better approach. He says that's like putting a tarp over a roof, and I don't know why he's using construction language, because I understand it. It's like putting a tarp over a roof until it gets reshingled.
Yeah.
It's not such a
Like,
big.
yeah. It's just a grid work for the cells to grow almost like a cell culture. What about with cirrhosis, like or any kind of like liver damage? Yes. Can you use stem cells? Is that what do you think about that from a spirit's perspective?
There there's a lot of reasons, he says, why people have cirrhosis, of the liver. And he says some of us come here because, believe it or not, we come here to experience this. Then there are some who really aggravated the liver to create that. So when you go with those people who aggravated their liver to create that, you have to make, they really, he's showing me, they have to go into some form of therapy so they're not re-injuring it if they were to spend that kind of money.
You got to get
So
to the root. Yeah.
yes, or at least start bringing the root to the surface so it can be worked on. And he said there's nothing wrong with doing that and doing stem cell for that. But he says the patient has to understand we're not going to waste money if you're not going to follow the agenda.
Yeah. It's like I don't want to give my liver to somebody or my kid's liver to somebody if they're still going to drink, obviously. All right. So when we do scalar work on people like this, like we're doing it on, paraplegia and heart failure and all that's liver, no, not liver yet. But what does it do? I mean, does it does it create stem cells and fill in the blanks, or what does it do?
With what you're doing, he says, and he's just going to speak for you because he's like, that's where he's focused. He said, when you're doing this kind of work on people, you give them like hope. It's like you give them some air, some oxygen, which helps to start rejuvenating stuff, because then it starts to flow within them even before you even start the work. But then when you start the work and you have them already thinking possibilities and stuff, he's showing me how the cells are just really going at it in a healthier approach. And he said, of course, as you know, it's not a one-time deal. He says you have to go back in there and help with that, because it's a process. And sometimes the client or patient, he's saying, will need to have it a few more times,
Hmm.
just because um, they want reassurance. It's almost like, is this really working? And so
Oh, okay. But that's only
they
psychological?
yes, because then Eric says our self gets in the way, our humanness,
Oh,
our
I
ego,
know.
whatever, gets in the way. And he says this is why it's good to have them on some type of a meditation diet, a regimen on about self-care every day and stuff, why this is being done.
That's right. People have to have their own responsibility in all this, of course,
Yes.
too. And Eric says, except for age reversal, which you have to do every few years, and hair growth, which is every couple of years or so, that everything else is eternal, except, I suppose, what he's saying now, if you let yourself and your fears get in the way.
While you're in the
Don't engage
healing
in
process.
self-care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
while you're in the healing process. He says, but
Yes.
as they're healing and they're seeing progress, he goes, of course, they're going to just like, no, I'm not going on that cruise. I got to do meditation, because they
Yeah.
know, they know what it's like to, most of them know what it's like to walk and then not walk. And now they can move their
Yeah.
feet and stuff and have feeling,
So
you
yeah.
know.
So they,
Eric says,
yeah, okay. They
he
get
said, yeah, he
good.
said, there's nothing like being able to feel like your foot's falling asleep.
Yeah.
And he said, just the little things we like take for granted, they're like, yes, bring it on, let me feel all this.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So,
Yeah.
but suppose somebody has heart failure due to a heart attack that destroyed a lot of their heart muscle. Does scalar energy stimulate stem cells to fill in the blanks or something, or how does it work? Or, or does it make the other cells stronger to take up the slack, or all of the above?
He's showing me all of the above, because he's showing me over here, like, so your heart's here, and he's showing me when you do the scalar work, it kind of, what it does is it, the way he shows me, it's like it stimulates, like these people say, okay, Joe over here isn't doing well. And so then Sam over here gets his whole team working, and
Okay.
they start working with your work. And as they're doing that, it's helping Joe to wake up. And then with the work you're doing and then them waking up, then it gets everything massaging. It's how he's showing me how,
Okay.
and then they all work, it all works together, because since the heart is what we would say is damaged,
Yeah.
then all of this other it kind of like massages and wakes it up. And with the work you're doing, he says you like stimulate the whole, it stimulates the whole cell part,
Good.
and
Yeah. It's supposed to. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's what he showed me, how it stimulates that to get it going. And he said um, most people that have a heart attack are ready to
oh, I
pay
know.
attention,
Yeah. I've got trials underway, but it's not available yet. I just got to make sure it's 100%, obviously. So then you can have Parkinson's. I mean, they're doing research with stem cells for Parkinson's. Does that work? And also dementia, maybe. Do those work? Stem cells for those two diseases? I mean, is it worth it? I mean, scalar energy, a lot easier, and cheaper. But yeah.
Eric says scalar energy would work very well on Parkinson's.
Yeah, I've got a couple of people.
Yeah.
All right, so but stem cells, does that work for Parkinson's?
He says it helps to lessen the symptoms.
Okay, but not
That's what
like cure.
no, he says it helps to lessen the symptoms. And I feel like when he says that, it's almost like he says when people go that route, usually they're already pretty bad. So it kind of helps calm down on the shaking. But there's other stuff going on internal that Parkinson's does that it helps with. And I don't know what that is, but he's saying it helps with that.
Okay, well, my daughter, who is going to be a neurologist, she's an MD as of yesterday. She's
That's so exciting.
congratulations.
Oh my
But she's
gosh.
going to be a neurologist, and she always says that people don't die from Parkinson's. They die with it. Basically, they don't die from it. They just die with it.
He says that is 100% correct.
Okay, Annika, 1 mark for you.
That is exactly correct.
All right, what about stem cells fighting cancer? Can you do that? Well, maybe it will be stem cells to create immune cells that will battle the cancer. I don't know, but what do you think about that?
Erik says stem cell is good for helping to fight cancer when you have it.
Okay.
And he says, and people are using that as an alternative to chemo and stuff, and along with other stuff naturally. Because he's showing me there are other plant products. I feel like he's showing me the Amazon or what it looks like. There are plant products in there like Grow Wild and stuff to help with cure cancer, and stem cell is another approach. He said, you asked about dementia. He says that is not a good candidate for that. Unless he says it just isn't. He goes, unless there are some rare cases where young people are starting to get like Alzheimer's or something like that. He said in those cases, and he showed me like there's like in their 40s that can help with that. But he says you need to wipe out all the metals because there's metals in them.
Oh yeah.
That's creating that is what he's showing me. So to getting that and then like sucking the metals out is what he's saying.
Like chelation therapy?
He said, yeah, he says, there's all different types of how he says that works. And he says, soaking your feet in like Dead Sea salt water, there's other things where people put like a magnetic thing in the water or some kind of electrical stuff in the water that pulls all that stuff out of your feet. He says there's places even around Houston that do that. And he says, yes, to get all the metals out and get blood work done to check what your metals are. And he says, and there's metals in a lot of things, which we know is like our deodorants and like people who use aluminum foil to cook with.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to use aluminum foil. I didn't even think anything.
I still do.
I didn't think.
God, okay, look at that. Maybe parchment paper is better.
That's what we use as parchment paper. But
oh my God.
I used aluminum foil for years. I mean, I didn't think nothing of it.
And then we used to use cast iron, but now
that's what he just said, cast iron too.
That's the way to go, or it is not?
He said it is not.
So what do you cook with? Copper?
No, we use, I don't even know the name of this pan, and it's so darn good. I'll have to give.
Ceramic? Like ceramic?
We do some with that. There's another pan we just got. I can't even remember the one pan, I think it's called. Our pan. I have no, I don't know, but it's not anything with that. But it's
in the comments, guys, if you guys know what she's talking about, share it with a glass. So Erik, do you think we could do like a heavy metal detox on people with a scalar frequency set?
He said definitely.
Well, that'd be good. Okay, what about Morgellons? I just thought about that. It's nothing to do with stem cells, but can we get rid of that? And what is it? Is it a parasite? Is it an autoimmune thing? What is it? I'm not really sure. I don't know if anybody is sure, but Morgellons or Morgellians. I think it's Morgellons.
Is it a parasite? Because the way he shows me,
I don't know.
That's what he's showing me, and it's like, but he says we like digest that or something, like it's somehow it's like on our foods or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll look into that.
He says it causes a lot of health issues.
Yeah, I have this thing. I'm testing microbiome optimization to totally optimize the body's biome, and I'm sure that will hopefully, if I add the language, include getting rid of the bad stuff like EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, and Morgellons and all that. Be quiet, Scout. Anyway, so anyway, keep stay tuned for that because that might be. All right, what about stem cells for aesthetics? Answer that while I open the door so I can get her little ass out of here. You want Annika?
She said stem cells for aesthetics.
Yeah, like some people. I even saw on Amazon just now while my eyes were averted because it was a stem cell rejuvenation with pills or whatever. Come on.
Stem cells pills?
Well, I don't know. But stem cell, I think some people go to other countries to get some sort of stem cell thing for rejuvenation, but I don't know. I'll keep looking while you talk, Eric.
He said people do go to other countries to get this done.
Like
And
they have in Arizona, a stem cell rejuvenation therapy center. Okay.
Yeah, but Erik says that's not. Erik is telling me they're like stimulating your stem cells. They're doing some type of treatment to stimulate your stem cell growth.
Oh, I got you. That's what the pills are too.
Yeah, it's to stimulate your stem cells. Does it work? He's asking me, saying that's the next question. Oh, yeah. He said it works if you believe in it.
Okay. Wow. The reversal of stem cell aging at the cellular level might lead to a revolution of the blah blah. Anyway, there's a government article. Although aging is a physiological process, it has raised interest in the science of aging and rejuvenation because of the increased burden on the rapidly aging global population, blah, 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 blah. I'm wondering if you could just repair cartilage with stem cells, put it in their joint spaces so that cartilage regenerates. Of course, we could do that with scalar energy, but, this is about...
Yeah. But he said, yes, you can do that. And he says, what they're talking about, and he says, and what you also talk about and express what you do when you're talking about aging. He's saying you're not just talking about looking 20 when you're 80. You're talking about your whole inner body.
Yeah, it's about...
That's what he said.
I've got the script in it for everything: physiology, biochemistry, organ rejuvenation, not just facial appearance. Of course, that's in there too. Even unwanted facial hair from aging, blah blah blah.
Well, he says because when you feel good on the inside, that penetrates on the outside.
Yeah.
And he said so
where you put collagen, increase the production, the activity and the production of fibroblasts, so they can produce collagen, and then it's got a script in there for redistribution of collagen and the dermis to get rid of wrinkles and other things. It's like 19 pages long. So. Whoa. Anyway, so aesthetics, no, not happening as far as stem cell therapy is concerned.
He says no.
Okay.
He says no.
Okay. I'm almost finished. I want to know about this. Well, I'll ask you one all-encompassing question at the very end. But 3D organ printing, can that really happen? Really? Can you HP, color jet, laser jet, whatever? Print me a kidney. I guess that you have to have, I don't know how that works. Is there a future for
that? Erik said yes, but not in our lifetime.
Oh, wow. Okay, what's the alternative? Beside transplant, organ donors and stuff like that.
Start not observing, because he said looking and I said observing. Start looking at the causes for that. He says, and he says 80% of all of these failures are caused by what we digest, what we breathe, what we put on our bodies. Yeah. And he said,
we're not born like that. Of course, there's genes, genetic stuff.
Well, that's why he said only, 80%.
80%, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, so 80% of us, we need to be more cognizant of what we're putting on our bodies, because when you put lotion on, you're digesting it too.
Oh
Perfume,
yeah.
when you're digesting it,
Yeah.
that's like going straight into your bloodstream, your pores. He's saying, of course, what you eat, what you smell, what you breathe, and he said all of that. Like he's saying, like people put Scotch Guard on their carpets, or he showed
Oh
me in
yeah.
bed. So stuff, all this stuff, and
Bad.
so and he's saying, he goes, you're going to get a lot of hate, Denise. He goes, but all you Diet Coke drinkers.
Yeah, I know. But I hear that when they warehouse that in the heat, some turns into formaldehyde, so I can't.
He says you're 100% correct on that.
Not good. I mean, after you're dead, maybe formaldehyde's good, but not before you're dead.
I used to be a Diet Coke
Oh, me
drinker.
too.
God.
Me
Oh
too.
my God. I used to suck
Now I
that.
just iced tea only. I cannot.
Yeah, I
So
don't either.
heavy metal. Could you help me make a detox, not just heavy metal, but a just overall detox frequency set and script, Eric?
He said, absolutely. He said, he goes, I can help you do anything you want, Mama.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Mm.
Okay, so 3D printing is not in our lifetime. Blah 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 blah. Okay, any overall advice for us, the scientists, scientific community, doctors, the masses, as far as now she wants back in, as far as stem cell therapy is concerned, especially from a biomedical ethics standpoint.
Eric, he says, um, some doctors sometimes get a bad rap for things like this, but there's a lot of doctors that are so dedicated to helping and healing people. And this is such a breakthrough, this stem cell therapy. He said, we hear a lot about it now, but they've been researching this for decades.
Yeah.
This is not something that they just discovered 10, 15, 20 years ago. He says they've been researching this for decades.
Wow.
So it's not an infancy stage.
Mm.
But the reason why it's not so all available everywhere is because of the stigma that's attached to it. And so they, he's telling me that most doctors hold a lot of, and their integrity is real high with this, and he's showing me that a lot of them feel very privileged to be able to have this available to offer to people who so desperately need it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's important. I really do think there's a big place for it.
Erik
You
said,
have political, you have religion fighting, you have
yeah.
political side of it, right?
And Erik says, we don't take this suit with us when we leave, so why not use what we can of it? And when he says our suit, he's talking about our body.
Right.
Why not use it? He says we're recyclable.
That's true.
And he says, why not use it? And he says, but you do get some of those, I'm going to soften the word, those butt heads that will misuse it,
Yeah.
but that's a small percentage. And he says, but they can't misuse it if they don't have participants lining up to purchase it. So don't buy it and it won't happen. He says, if everybody stopped buying cigarettes, there wouldn't be no more sales.
That is true. It's true.
Just don't. He says, educate the public of what it is they're getting, and don't. He says the thing of it is the ones that go off market are getting it for a cheaper rate. So
Yeah. But I mean, I have to speak only for myself that I'm lazy. I don't want to read about stuff or find out stuff. It's like it's really not good. Don't do as I Don't do as I do, do as I say. But yeah, it's hard to like take responsibility for your body and read labels. Oh my God, I just
Yes.
gotta ask, is this okay for me or not?
Yes. My
Take
daughter
a
said,
scalar frequency and fix my body, whatever damage I've done to it. Bump, 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 dump, done.
I know my daughter will say, don't read the label. Because I'll start, she goes, don't read it.
Yeah. I didn't mean cha-ching, I mean bling, like sunny and fresh. Anyway,
That's
yeah.
cute.
All right. Anything else you want to share, Eric, before we close and before we talk about how to get in touch with Denise?
He says, no, he says, but contact him. He's like, you're going to ring him up. He says, contact him and he'll help guide you with that other stuff. He says that you asked about what he
Okay.
helped show you. And he said he definitely will. And do you feel like you're buzzing when you're working with him in that scalar energy?
Yeah, I do.
Because
Sometimes.
that's what
Yeah.
he's telling me, because he's saying you're going to be buzzing, and so you'll know it's him helping you work through this.
Good.
Yeah. So because he's showing me like you're buzzing, and I'm like, wow.
Well, that's great. Also, I found out today that somebody wanted me to see if I could cure this little 5-year-old that has Hunter disease, which is fatal. You know, he's only 5.
What is that?
It's a metabolic disease, mucopolysaccharide. It's just, disorder. So I decided I'll talk to Eric and do another category, metabolic or genetic diseases, to relieve all that. And put him as a volunteer and some others as a volunteer. Um,
Eric says that's good that you're going to use him for a volunteer, and Eric's right there with you.
do you think we can get rid of the stone man's disease that somebody who's her son, who's near and dear to my heart, has? Fibrodysplasia, osteoitis deformans, or something like that. I can't remember. Oh, progressiva, FOP, FOP, stone man's disease, where their ligaments and muscles, etc., slowly turn to bone and accelerated by any injury to the ligament or the muscle or whatever, even scar, even surgery to remove the bone, the part that is turned into bone will stimulate even more bone formation.
Yeah, Eric says it's like you cut a root and then you grow 3 more.
Yes.
And then you cut those 3 and then 6 more grow. It's a continue.
Yeah.
It just, he says you never can get rid of it, is what he said. Eric says he's saying yes, give it a try.
Sure, try what? Okay, it can't hurt. That's the thing about it. It's just
Or slow it down, or kind of.
Or cure it, maybe. I mean, I'm going to put it in
Yes,
there for cure,
because he's showing me like you're pulling it away.
Yeah, as long as we revoke contracts, and we can now revoke irrevocable contracts as long as they've been honored. So that's good. I did a retrograde integration on everybody from the very beginning to put all new language into their previous energy work, and that includes revoking irrevocable contracts that have already been honored. So that's going to really help a lot of people. All right, I guess that's it. And Denise, y'all get in touch with her at deniseramon.com. Great medium, as you see. Great, Eric loves her. A great healer, very, very powerful. My husband also had a wonderful session, said, oh, she got some power. So y'all check her out, deniseramon.com. Love you, Denise. Love you, Eric.
Love you too. He says, I love you, Mama. And he's kissing you right here.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.